and we are recording the Summit Speaker Series. So a couple things. I will send this recording out to anyone who is registered, as well as any resources that Kristin wants to share just a little bit later this week. So keep an eye out for that. And then, of course, feel free to share any of this information with your networks. We are going to be keeping everybody on mute during this entire presentation, and that includes during the Q&A. Q&A is going to start right around 9:30, a few minutes after that. So if you have any questions at any point during the presentation, just put your questions into the chat, and then we'll get to those a little bit toward the end. We will keep everyone muted, like I've said. But we are very excited today to hear about marketing and the new consumer decision journey from Kristin Carpenter. Kristin founded Verde Brand Communications after a decade-long journalism career, working on staff for major consumer lifestyle magazines, business, and trade titles. Now, 19 years later, she continues to serve as Verde's CEO and direct strategy for the agency. She's also the host of Channel Mastery podcast, which was voted Best Outdoor Podcast by Snooze in 2019. Channel Mastery launched in 2017 and delivers solutions in every weekly episode tailored for specialty business and brand leaders navigating the continual transformation of multi-channel businesses. In her free time, you can find Kristin chasing her kids around the mountains and desert around her home in Durango, Colorado. So our neighbor over a little bit to the east. Kristin, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. And I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to you. And then, like I said, to the audience, feel free to put any questions in the chat during this presentation. Thank you so much, Kristin.
Thank you, India. I'm so excited to be here. So I'm going to go ahead and just present my screen to make sure that I have everything the way it's supposed to be, so you can see what I'm doing. Let me know if you can see my screen okay.
Yes, thank you.
Great. Okay, and then how about now with full screen?
Yep, it looks perfect.
Awesome. All right. Good morning, everybody. How did it get to be almost November, and how is it Thursday? I don't know, but I actually bought myself a planner last week just because it said 2021 on the cover. Who can relate? We're pretty excited to put this one in the books, I think. 2020 has been an incredible year of fast-moving change, an accelerated pace of change like nobody's ever seen before. I've got some interesting statistics to share on that, but ultimately, I'm excited to be here at this exact time with you because we're all looking at attempting to plan for 2021. And we're also, and I'm happy to answer questions on that. We did a full module on budgeting and a training on that for the Academy, which I'll get into in a minute. But just know, like, if you do have questions around like managing a marketing budget during such a crazy time of flux with budgeting in general in your company, we can definitely address that in the Q&A. But where I'm going with this is we are in the fourth quarter of this year. We're kind of entering the home stretch, but we also really have to keep an eye out to what's going on in 2021, because as we've learned this year, if we've learned nothing else, we have to really embrace the concept of pivoting and being nimble. And I know everybody's probably pretty tired of hearing those two words, but you have all achieved an MBA in those things, and you really need to put those to good use. And thankfully, if you're interested in this content today, chances are you're either in brand marketing or are interested in it, or perhaps you're getting ready to do a startup and have to wear a lot of different hats. You're in exactly the right place. I'm going to give you as much as I can in the time that we have together. And then I really would love to answer any Q&A you have. And if we don't get to any Q&A, or all of the Q&A rather, I'm happy to even address those in a little email video or an email response that you can have shared with you after this. And I will make the deck available to you as well. So one thing I'd like to ask India is if you can just remind me when we get to the point where we need to do Q&A, because I can't see you on my screen. That would be great. So maybe just do a little, or you could have Becca text me. So I just want to make sure we save time for that.
Okay, happy to. Thanks.
All righty. So I've already got a fantastic intro from India. If you want to learn more about Verde, we're at verdepr.com. Channelmastery.com is our podcast. And then we also had our own little pivot at Verde. Actually, we've done quite a few this year. We launched an online community and training called the Multi-Channel Marketing Academy, and we're in our second cohort right now. boy, it's amazing to work alongside brand leaders, all the way from entrepreneurs to, brand leaders across bikes, snow sports, endurance, travel, etc., all over the world. And it's a pretty, tight little cohort. We are learning a ton together. It's an 8-week program. And I'm just so happy that I'm in the middle of that, because I actually was able to freshen up what I was going to offer you just from our training yesterday. I have this awesome opportunity to talk to lots of people in lots of different specialty markets in my role. So I'm going to give you everything that I have from an Intel standpoint today. All right. We already did the intro. All right. We have limited time together today, and we have a lot to cover. So I wanted to definitely talk with you about the evolving consumer today, because I mentioned budgets. Strategic planning and budgeting obviously go hand in hand. It's difficult to do strategic planning right now as well, because things are changing so much. So obviously, I'm honored to be presenting for the amazing state of Utah's outdoor recreation community today. Obviously, snow sports, very top of mind, right? It's an anchor part of your outdoor recreation economy. And obviously, we're seeing a lot of challenges and new things that the consumer is going to have to get used to when they visit a resort, having an appointment, or, getting the time set aside, actually in going into retail or obtaining rentals. A lot of the things that are going to be happening in winter 2020, 2021 will continue to train our consumer. And that's what I wanted to talk with you today. And I always just want to remind you, when you feel completely lost because things keep changing so much around you, and you might have a team that's reliant on you to show us the way, always just look to your consumer. And so monitoring consumer trends is a super powerful way for you to get a leg up and stay ahead of the curve. I take that one step further in everything we do at Verde and with the Academy. You really have to revisit who your target consumer is. And I want to just state this before we get into the trends here. It's incredibly important for specialty brands who build emotional connections with their consumers and shoppers to always be aware of exactly who it is you're serving. If you try to be remarkable to everybody, you're remarkable to absolutely nobody. And never has that been more true today, because the consumer is absolutely tethered to their browser. You and I are both consumers. We're solving problems that way. We're also engaging with our favorite brands that way and consuming content that way. We've had a good 8+ months of training in which to choose a decision journey online that includes the cash register. So the consumer has evolved a ton during this time. And I'm going to spend a chunk of our time talking about that as it pertains to specialty and passion brands. So that's the big part of what we're doing, is evolving consumer trends and how they're impacting the consumer decision journey. And again, that decision journey used to be consumer would discover and research online and obtain purchase validation and buy in a store. 90% of consumers across all categories of retail up until 2020, that was the statistic, was 85 to 90% of consumers would actually research their buy and then do purchase validation and actually purchase the product inside of retail. So it's really important to look at, that's all online now, and everybody is trusting that and used to that. So very, very important. Okay, so let's get into, I don't want to overwhelm you with statistics, but there are some things that I think are really, really important to share. And I just want to say, everything that we pull together at Verde and on Channel Mastery is specifically to serve specialty brands, because there really aren't resources available for that. As a former journalist, I'm a complete nerd when it comes to finding things like studies or data or research that helps our clients get a leg up in this uber competitive landscape. So when I say uber competitive, it's incredibly congested online right now, because all brands, big and small, know that that's where the consumer is. And that's ultimately what we're all dealing with. We are all in competition with Target, with Amazon, with Nordstrom. Our consumer is being trained by large retail, large marketplaces. Even though those maybe are the solution for commodity, they're still training the consumer to really seek out the frictionless experience that they have and that they've engaged with over COVID. So you have to look at what that's going to be like for your brand. And it doesn't mean you have to spend on the same level as a consumer packaged goods brand or Nordstrom's or a Target, but it does mean you can look at your own channel journey and figure out ways to ensure that you have a seamless approach to being discovered by serving, nurturing, and converting your consumer. So anything you can do within that journey that makes it easy for them, makes it frictionless for them, that's what we want to go for. So the days of trying to steer a consumer to buy from a store are over. Okay. Like the consumer was driving all along, but now they are absolutely like, there is no question who's driving right now. And everybody has to really create the best experience for them to get, from discovery to purchase. When we do the best job ever is when they don't see any channels at all, which is funny because everything at Verde we do is about channels, channel mastery. But ultimately, when you're super successful as a specialty brand, you do such a great job with your stakeholder partners in your channel mix, i.e. retailers or your own website or your social media or your influencers, et cetera, that your consumer doesn't see the channel. You're just there when they want to see you there and what time they want to see you there. So this is really, really important. And then also, we can't ignore the incredible trend. And I hope it's not a trend. I hope it's here to stay. But right now we can call it a trend confidently of the influx of people enjoying the outdoors, seeking out health and wellness, seeking out time together with family and friends. We have been discovered. Okay. We are no longer this like stepchild, camping, RV, overland, we're no longer the weirdos. Like now everybody wants to come to our party. And while I do appreciate and I know that there's content and trainings around what the state of Utah outdoor recreation community is providing in this summit around, just mindful practices around managing crowds outdoors. We also, as marketers, and as I'm sure lots of people are in sales as well who are watching today, we need to be mindful of this newcomer. Let's just say historically in cycling and in outdoor, in snow sports, in endurance, sometimes we can be less than inclusive. And there has been a big awareness created among consumers of all different levels that they need to be welcomed to, enjoy everything that we do, right? So it's definitely about BIPOC and JDEI, but it's also about just ensuring that your tone of your brand is welcoming. And perhaps you need to add a new target consumer avatar to who you're serving, excuse me, to ensure that you're not going to be pushing away these newcomers, because it's our single biggest opportunity right now to catch and collect, is what I've been saying, the newcomers in cycling and in outdoor. And what I love to think, and a lot of clients have actually taught me this over the 20 years I've been doing this, when we can get our consumer to fall in love with the outdoors or with cycling, they're more apt to protect the special landscapes that they're experiencing and having this amazing experience in. And as specialty marketers, that's part of our responsibility now, is to welcome them in and then give them resources and inspiration to learn how to be stewards of the land as well. So very exciting opportunity there. So very exciting opportunities usually come with challenges. In fact, they always do. I mean, let's be honest. And for those of us who are willing to modernize and truly become, sorry, I don't know how to turn off my texts that I'm receiving. So I'm going to go ahead and just turn off my phone because I want to make sure that doesn't happen again. Hopefully that will solve the problem. Okay, so talking about the challenge of this, obviously as brands, some of the levers that we have pulled, if not all of them, have changed in terms of how we launch product, how we become discovered, or how we build the community with our brand fans. We obviously see that it looks like I'm still having issues with my text. Becca, would you mind texting Dave and asking him not to text me right now? That would be awesome. Thank you. So Looking at the challenge ahead, we have to really recreate a playbook. We have to understand exactly who our consumer is. And even if you did this work in January of this year, you need to revisit who your target consumer is. And I would do that quarterly as a matter of hygiene going forward as a brand leader in specialty, because ultimately our consumers continuing to evolve at a rapid pace, and we have to stay ahead of their preferences, their tendencies, and their behaviors. So we used to have great options like the trade show or maybe a regional buying group that probably will come back, right? Some of these things are not available to us right now. Consumer events are not available. As I talked about earlier, snow sports retail, snow sports rental, snow sports, at a resort. Like, these are things that are happening, but they're compromised. So we have to really adjust and build contingency plans for Q1 and Q2 right now that will enable us to continue to offer brand experiences to our brand fans. Whether it is all virtual or whether we resort to some other creative means, we have to be digging deep and really knowing what is going to make our consumer continually fall in love with us. And as we are nurturing them through different channels, through this relationship we have with them, we want to continually remind them, hey, we are your brand. And that's basically all needing to be recreated, and in a very, very noisy landscape. But the number one thing we have going for us as passion-driven brands is we know how to tell stories. We know how to serve communities. We are specialty, okay? Bigger brands might be able to throw a lot of money at this and acquire and accrue data and use that and deploy it in different ways to personalize experiences online. But you and I both know what gets us out of bed in the morning is ultimately our competitive advantage, and that is we love to serve people and get them super excited about the outdoors or cycling or snow sports or endurance or travel. And we love to serve our people and experience that with them. It makes it all new again. And when you make your brand as a specialty leader more human to this consumer, that's when you will win. That's when you rise above the noise. Obviously, today that's done virtually and through content. So we also have, as I said, a challenge with is 80% of Americans are spending more time online, and 50% of consumers have increased their social media usage in the last 6 months. There's a little Captain Obvious there, but the reason that I'm sharing this with you is that is one thing we can be certain about, is that behavior may minimize when retail and events come back, but it's never going to go away. Okay. The same way consumers became comfortable with Amazon Prime, my credit card details are in there. I know they're going to ship to me. That's what's happened over COVID. Consumers have gotten comfortable with new solutions online. And so we have to evolve our specialty brands to rise to the occasion and continue to give them remarkable experiences that are truly specialty. So one thing I wanted to hit on, and this is all going to be in the presentation that I'm happy to send over to you after we're done, is loyalty right now is up for grabs. So one of the great things about consumer evolution is new problems are cropping up all around us that we need solutions for in our day-to-day lives, but then also with our identities. So I'm going to hit the topic of loyalty, and then I'm going to hit the topic of identity. Right now, we have two levers of opportunity around building loyalty with consumers. I mentioned the newcomers into outdoor and cycling, but this also pertains to our enthusiasts. So ultimately, through COVID, the consumer has become open to joining up, enrolling, becoming emotionally attached to new brands. So that's an incredible opportunity for all of us as marketers. And there are two levers that we can pull to pull them into us. We don't want everyone. We just want those who fit with our brand. So the first and foremost is the loyalty, as I mentioned already, is around providing a frictionless, trusted experience. Now, this can apply to toilet paper as well as it can a down sleeping bag, okay? They're trained when they're buying commodities to expect, I want this at this time and I want to get it in this way. And you will actually do that if you're promising it online. So there's some basic table stakes there. You have to be consistent. You have to fulfill what you promise your consumers you're going to do at every touch point. That includes if they join your email list and they get a welcome email from you that says every Tuesday you're going to receive tips, tricks, and whatever from me or my company or whatever on this topic, you have to show up and you have to go above and beyond to deliver that, because every single touch point today is super important to build trust. And that is all we have. Without trust, we could never get attention. And attention is what we're all clamoring for today because of how congested it is online. So seamless, frictionless, simple, convenient, all of that is important. Okay. It does not overtake the specialness of your brand, but the way that you're operationally delivering something is very important. The second lever we have to pull is ethical alignment. We've gone through a lot this year. We have seen so much unfold before our eyes, globally: pandemic, recession, social unrest, political unrest. The consumer is completely jostled right now, and they are not seeing the results. They don't have the faith that they used to have in major institutions. I have told a lot of people this year that 2020 has literally been kind of the fall of the institution. And what I mean by that is solutions that used to work for a huge amount of people, solutions that we used to identify with, self-identify with, whether it's politics, religion, a big trade show even can, you're going to see these trade shows become more niche and serve smaller communities going forward, because ultimately these big one size fits all solutions, that's something that hasn't done well through COVID. So our opportunity is to create a brand that has a stance that basically shows consumers that you care about people, you care about your workforce, you care about the economy in terms of like corporate citizenship during COVID, for example. Okay, there's a couple of studies that we'll put links to in the follow-up materials that show over 80% of global consumers expect brands to have stand-up corporate responsibility practices right now during COVID. They expect brands to work with governments to create change. So your opportunity is to put a stake in the ground around what your brand ethically stands for, and then show action around that. Show the process, show the journey, the good, bad, and the ugly, but show them that your brand stands for something, because that is the other way to capture new people emotionally with your brand right now, is to have an ethical stance. And now to talk about the identity facet of it for us as specialty brand leaders, or specialty brand, if we're the actual people running these brands or selling these products, it's really important to know. And we all know this because we love the outdoors and cycling, but the new consumers coming in, or even our enthusiast consumers, want to identify with our brands more than ever. Think about it. They spent a big part of their lives this year trapped in their houses, longing for what they normally have as an identity and community. The Leadville Race Series is one of our clients, and we've seen this in the people participating in Leadville. I'm one of those. So like, we didn't have the opportunity to train, to go to camps, to engage with people, to go through the process of like getting to Leadville. And that is a big part of our identity. So what do we do instead? We donate to Leadville, and we want to still be part of this community and support it. So you can see it becomes part of your identity. As specialty brands, we literally help people believe what they want to believe about themselves. And that has never been more meaningful or important as it is right now during COVID. It's super, super important and powerful, and a huge responsibility. So that is your whole shot right now. We have to be able to stand for something. We have to have everything in alignment in terms of like the experience of discovering us and buying from us, no matter what channel that the consumer wishes to do that on. And then we have to be mindful of how our consumers are self-identifying with us, because ultimately how they're voting with their dollars is really all about their identities. So it's really a powerful, interesting place to be. So I think it's important to also talk about the evolution of how consumers are getting their information today. It's really easy to think like everybody's online, and that's definitely true. Search and social media are really, really important for your brand. Your version of this, it doesn't have to be what Amazon or Target does, right? If you know exactly who you're serving, it makes it very, very easy to understand what you should be investing in terms of paid search or paid social, or what you can do even organically. So organic and paid search together still dominate website traffic. So organic search share of traffic increased 53.3% on average across industries this year. And then according to Pew Research, 55% of United States adults get their news from social media, which is an 8% increase from last year. We have a whole nother webinar I could do today with you. It's a whole nother hour plus on kind of trust in journalism, but just know that you need to treat your brand as if it is a journalism outlet. Be trusted. Your consumer, once they discover you, will come to your owned channels, your website and your social media for the true story that you see in the world, for your version of the news, right? You may or may not choose to step into that depending on your brand stance, but my point is they will come to your owned media to see the real story that before they trust media, broad news media today, especially in an election cycle. So you have to think about that and know again exactly who you're serving, because you will know what social media platforms your particular shopper prefers. And you will know if they love YouTube or your blog or both. You will understand what kind of email newsletters are working with them or not. Ultimately, you want to understand exactly who you're serving and build a dashboard across all of your channels that you populate with results every week. And if you do this consistently, you will start to have a cadence and a pulse on your consumer. You will be able to step into a very strong and powerful leadership role within your company as the person who owns that consumer relationship. That is the power of specialty brand marketing leaders today. We can help evolve our entire organizations with that information. Okay, this is also good. I hit a couple of these already, but it's important to look at, Facebook, good, bad, and ugly of Facebook. People still are, millions and millions of people across the world are still on it. Instagram and Facebook are super powerful. You have to be there, but study how your particular consumer is there. There's a lot of data you can mine, and also audiences you can build on Facebook and Instagram. 28% are getting news and content on YouTube, and 73% of adults are now on YouTube, which is the second largest search engine behind Google. And at Verde, we also count Amazon as a search engine because Amazon is where upwards of 75% of all product searches start. So that's really important to know. I'm not saying run out and be on Amazon if you have a stance against it, but just know that your consumer is probably expecting to find you there because they treat that as a search engine today. I love this. This is from, I can't remember the name of this right now, but I'll have the, where it says images here, you'll be able to go to this website. It's an infographic website. Subscribe to their email because every week they send a digest of kind of their best infographics. And I loved this one because it broke down generationally how people are using COVID media through COVID. So it's very hard to see this, but you'll see this in, the deck that you get from me. But you can see that, it's interesting depending on what age demographic you are, how you're consuming content on social media. So this is another way, using a tool like this, you can really refine, okay, we are a Gen Z brand. We need to pay attention to these particular channels, but then also that's an in general broad market look, but then also dive into your brand's own analytics on your content. We like to think of content marketing as a 24/7 salesperson for a brand, especially now with everybody just voraciously wanting more and more content. Okay, so actually, I'm going to go back to this slide because there are a couple of notes here that will help me explain to you. So Gen Z are significantly consuming more online streaming video than before COVID. Millennials have started consuming more content across several media types, including online and broadcast TV. Gen X have increased TV watching more than any generation and are also watching more online television, which is interesting. And baby boomers appear to have changed their media consumption as a result of COVID, with an increase in watching broadband TV most apparent. So those are just 4 highlights. But when you go to this site, you'll be able to look at this in detail. And again, I would definitely subscribe to their newsletter because they send out really amazing content every week that's kind of mind-blowing. But the takeaway here is we know our consumers are online more than ever before. Captain Obvious, right? They're consuming more video, spending more time on social media, in apps, etc. The key is finding where your consumer is and how they're discovering and engaging with your brand, and then also overlaying the social media piece, which shows purchase validation through either word of mouth, people looking at reviews. There's a number of ways that people find purchase validation online where they used to find that inside of a retail, like 4 walls of retail. So that's really important to understand as well. So as you look at another way to I think build a foundation under a dashboard of almost like a bill of health of your consumer that you as the brand leader are managing every week is to make sure that you're incorporating maybe a heat map solution on your website, or definitely looking at website traffic. You can sign up for I think it's called Hotjar. There are a couple different heat maps that you can try like a free trial on. Right before you run your next campaign, set that up in your website and figure out where people are spending time on your site. Super important. That's something that'll really help you do more of what's working and cut out what isn't working. And there's so much technology available today, even for smaller specialty brands, that will give you such an incredible line of sight. We are all about leveling the playing field here at Verde for specialty brands as we're competing for the attention, the mind share, and the heart of the consumer that's also, we're seeing Target and Nordstrom's go after as well. They obviously have much bigger ways to invest in headcount and tech than we do as specialty brands, but there are certain technologies out there that you can be scrappy with and really understand your consumer and be smart and storytell to them in a way that the larger entities can't. So that's another way for you to position yourself strongly. And you want to make sure you're not dispersing yourself all over the place, even though Gary Vaynerchuk and some other folks say, be on every channel, be prolific on every channel. We have to pick our battles, especially now. Everybody's kind of dealing with, if it's not lower headcount, it's a team that is distracted with a lot of new things that they're trying to manage their way through with COVID. So keep it simple. Understand where your consumers are online, whether it's social media, et cetera, and then spend time on their favorite platforms, giving them an incredible brand experience. That's what we've been telling our clients to do. And we're seeing a higher level of success with that versus the quote spray and pray of 2021, which will literally be like, I need to be on every platform, right? Now it's about really selecting where you want your brand to show up and inviting your consumer in for a journey with you through brand experiences that you're providing with content online. It's also really important to really, if you're going to invest anywhere going forward, it should be in video. And again, talking about YouTube being a major search engine right behind Google, owned by Google, it's going to become more and more important for you to invest in video and to develop a YouTube presence for your brand. This is one of the things that we're offering at Verde going forward for our brands is literally like analysis, sometimes tear down of a YouTube channel and a rebuild so that basically we have another channel to flow content onto that will act like a search engine, because today the results that we obtain for our clients, thankfully, are very, very powerful search content. Search driving content is performance PR is what we like to say we do, but it's really just content. Those hits are just really good content for search and for people to discover and see, better domain authority on the sites, et cetera. So it's about getting the placements and getting the visibility of that top of the funnel, but it's how you position the placement across your channels that really, really brings results to our clients today. YouTube is going to become a primary channel for that. There's no way around it. Look at how much time we spend on video and doing virtual meetings. Here we are every single day of our work life and also personally right now. Holiday's probably going to be full of interesting Zoom meetings, I would imagine. But my point is, make sure your brand has more video assets and make sure that they are in lots of different sizes so that you can use them in different ways across your channel mix. This is going to be very important for today's consumer, especially one that is story driven, and that is our specialty consumer. So I cannot emphasize that enough. And I also just want to say 80% is successful, 100% is failure when it comes to perfectionism with video. You want to get a real approach to video in place. Like, it does not have to be super polished. If you're investing in like a brand video, yes, you want to invest in that. That should be a really great piece of content. But as you're looking to like provide content across your channels or do a YouTube live or a Facebook live or Instagram or LinkedIn live just launched, you need to just aim for consistency and realness. Again, the most human brand wins. And as specialty brands, we have got to show up as a human being, and we have to be able to relate with our target audience. So it's a human to human connection. Mark Schaefer's book, and I'll put the link to that in there as well, is all about the most human brand wins. And he's somebody that we actually had on the podcast. So I'll put that in the podcast link in the notes as well. So really, really important to do that. And so we're kind of getting ready to wrap up here, so we have time for Q&A. What are consumers looking right now to purchase? We've definitely been studying this a lot because we had the stimulus check, obviously. I think it was second quarter of this year. There are a lot of economists and pundits out there wondering, like, what is consumer sentiment right now, right? Are they willing to spend money? One thing I can tell you is demand for outdoor products and cycling has not declined. There is such a strong demand. We're also seeing consumers are doing a future-paced part of their consumer journey right now, meaning they're looking to invest in trips and things that they used to do aspirationally. So they're looking for content online that helps them plan trips. We are definitely seeing like a strong uptick in sales. I think one of the things that we saw across in our consumer report, which we'll be posting on Verde's blog, we post that every other week, verdepr.com/blog. It's a consumer report specific to specialty, where we talk about consumer sentiment in September of 2020. And actually we saw retail, brick and mortar retail sales were up 5.4% year over year from 2019, which is fantastic. And that says to us that people are really interested in trying to get back into a normal routine, to be around people, even though it's difficult to like sometimes get to retail or be in retail safely or do the practices of retail. They still want retail. They want to be together. They want to have these in-person experiences more than ever because it's been something that's been held back from them. We see that, and we see that there's definitely strong demand in terms of purchase intent right now. And that might be because holiday has moved up. Ever since Labor Day, we've all as consumers been receiving emails giving us promotional opportunities around the holiday season. And we're also being told by brands. I just saw this in backcountry.com's newsletter 2 days ago. We're expecting challenges in shipping gifts this year. Make sure you order early. So sentiment might be happening right now because of what's happening with holiday and the fact that people know they need to land grab and get their presents shipped as soon as they can. So right now, things are looking strong and positive. I'm not sure, nobody is because it hasn't happened yet, what's going to happen as we finish out the year. But really, as marketers, we also need to be thinking about Q1 and Q2. That aspirational planning that I was just talking about indicates to us that there is strong demand for outdoor trips, for travel, and for cycling. So keep that in mind. But this slide definitely shows a few highlights. We saw an 11% growth in clothing and accessories, which is great because clothing has really, really had a difficult time this year. And the stay-at-home economy, sporting goods, home gyms, etc., books, music, cooking, all of that has definitely grown. And the NPD group has just published their specialty outdoor study. So that can be found on their website, NPD group's website. So really exciting to see that sales are up, and hopefully that will continue. NPD's report did say there was a 197% increase year over year in stationary bike purchases, 187% in electric bicycles, 132% increase stand-up paddleboards, and a 111% in water filters, which we're definitely tying to kind of that survival has become mainstream, right? Not only because of fires and natural disasters, but because of this COVID-19 pandemic. So we are definitely keeping this consumer perception top of mind, and you can visit our blog, or Snow Sports Industries of America publishes a weekly consumer report that we help them create. They have so many great resources, and they're based right in beautiful Park City, Utah. So you could check out their site, snowsports.org, and get this information. I believe every week they're offering it. So, focal channels. Obviously, we've talked a lot about this already. E-commerce sales are up a whopping 44% in Q2 of 2020. Captain Obvious, right? We know all of that. It's going to remain strong. People are still used to buying online. And then 89%, this is a good one, of percent of consumers say they will buy from a brand they follow on social media, and 84% will choose that brand over a competitor. And that's showing the trust that social media content can build with a consumer. That's from Sprout Social. And again, all of this will be offered to you in the deck. Facebook reigns supreme with millennials and older, but members of Gen Z prefer YouTube, 87%. I can definitely attest to that with my kids. And Instagram, 85%. So again, reevaluate your channel mix, meet your consumer where they are, and really niche down. Niche until it hurts. Okay, think about how you use search engines. You don't put like a broad search term in there. You're very specific when you're on a search engine. That's why we are propagating that you need to really know who you're serving and niche down and really serve like maybe 3 to 4 different avatars. And then I would definitely create like a newcomer avatar if you're a outdoor or cycling brand today. All right. And this brand experience is really what it's all about, especially in specialty. So think about every touch point. When we put together a consumer decision journey for a client at Verde, we look at it from an operation and from a brand experience standpoint. So obviously we can't really be consultative with that, but we point out the importance of that to a leadership team as we're aligning them to serve a consumer instead of a point of distribution. Okay, that's a big shift that's happening today. So you want to look at every single touch point on that journey. You want to think about ways to serve that are frictionless, that are convenient, excuse me, but also remarkable in terms of like specialty storytelling and a human to human connection. And then gratitude goes a long way right now. Express to your customers how grateful you are that they're on this journey with you. They are human beings. They love to reciprocate when a brand does great things for them or serves them in a way that just makes them smile. This is specialty. This is what we're so good at. Have this come through your content and really engineer special things into every stop along that consumer decision journey. One thing that I've been thinking a lot about and sharing with our brands at Verde, click and collect, right? For holiday, we know we have an opportunity to really raise the level of like stoke with our consumers today, because ultimately they're probably not going to have the Christmas or whatever holiday they normally have. They aren't able to maybe have the people over at their house that they're used to having or do the things they love to do from a tradition standpoint. So what can you fold into your experience serving them that might give them a smile or make them feel special, or maybe enable them to interact with their family in a way, you know, through what they're purchasing from you and sharing, you know, what a great experience they had from you. Whatever it is, like you can really go a long way building trust and stoke with your consumers today just by looking at, okay, what are some of the things they're going to miss out this year that they love? And don't be shy about surveying them or sitting down with some of your very best consumers. Maybe it's not sitting down, maybe it's doing a phone call today, but ask them what it is that that you could do for them in terms of them joining your brand community, whether it's retail or your brand. Ask them, what can we do to go above and beyond to help you right now? They want to belong. They want to enroll themselves in a brand. They want to believe in what you stand for. And they want to immerse themselves in you as a favorite brand, because it's, again, reminding them that truly they are this person they want to believe they are in their head. It's crazy, super powerful. But that human DNA, that storytelling, like wanting to join up and belong, that is really engineered into who we are. And specialty is perfectly poised to really get back to what we're so good at in terms of connecting with that, creating great experiences for that, and advocating for what we love together, which probably is getting outdoors, getting on your bike, and making sure that we're taking care and being great stewards of the outdoors. So that wraps up my time with you here in terms of what I wanted to share. And I'm very excited to share not only this deck, but we'll have a short, bullet point PDF that has some really good links to some podcasts that cover great content that you can go deeper with from Channel Mastery. I probably will also put a link to the budgeting training that we did for the Multi-Channel Marketing Academy. Gosh, it's about 3 or 4 weeks ago now. Brand new content, talks about building contingency plans. We've had a lot of great feedback on that. And then also we did a couple of other trainings that I can put in there as well. So you can get some content that will hopefully get you ready to budget for and plan for what's coming ahead in 2021, Q1 and Q2. Keep in mind, at Verde, we're seeing our own company and also our clients. Yes, they're building an annual budget, but there's an actively changing budget for Q1 and Q2. And it's very much dependent on what is going on with our consumer. What do we need to do to pivot to be remarkable to this consumer? We have to build in the ability to flex. And if that means setting aside, a couple different contingency plans for budgeting, that's what we need to do. And that's exactly what we're doing at my company and what I'm seeing most of our clients do. We are going to find a way forward. And I feel like on the other side of this will be an incredible opportunity for outdoor recreation in this country and this world. Okay. This is literally the awakening again of people's awareness around the health and wellness benefits of being outdoors, the community of outdoors, and the reverence that I think we all have for the outdoors, especially as Americans with our public lands. There's so much that is just built into the pride of being in this country around our public lands. They are serving so many hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people right now. And it's just incredible to see, like, for such a time as now, as outdoor active lifestyle brand leaders, and that includes cycling and snow sports, for such a time as now, like literally we are at the precipice of an entirely new era. And it is going to be a very, very impactful era. We are going to see our brands initiate change in a way that will be so powerful and will take so much pride in together. And your great state has led the way in a lot of ways with what happened earlier this year with personal protective equipment, the pivots that were made. It was absolutely so inspiring to see brands collaborating and coming up with solutions to serve. That is who you are, it seems, in the state of Utah, and I have so much reverence for that. So I just wanted to make sure I put a shout out there because your leaders are incredible in this state for outdoor recreation. So how can I help you for the rest of our time? I know I guess we have 10 minutes, but we can pack a lot into 10 minutes.
Yeah, and Kristin, thank you so much. That was fantastic information. Thank you for the shout out to our state leaders, our business leaders, our nonprofit leaders in the state of Utah who have really done some incredible work always, and especially this year, stepping up and helping out. Fantastic information on building trust with your audience and just everything else you mentioned. So thank you. It looks like we did get a question in the chat. Tara McKee, who's with the Office of Outdoor Recreation, says, we have some participants in this webinar in the tourism industry. What connections or decisions might there be for those scrolling online and making decisions for their next road trip?
What a great question. So overland and RV are obviously incredibly strong growth right now. More and more people are choosing to take road trips. And I think that it's a really important opportune time I think the state of Utah does an incredible job showcasing its beautiful natural resources and its incredible environmental landscape. It's literally, I think your state does one of the best jobs in the country of getting the word out on the recreation that you offer from an outdoor recreation standpoint. But I feel like people are really, that is up here, and that is the big umbrella that's kind of covering all of this. And it's a very important umbrella if you think about it. But at the same time, you want a niche. Okay. So if you're in the Office of Tourism and you're looking at seasonal planning, or perhaps you're looking at let's really focus on families. Let's really focus on millennials. Let's focus on, whatever it is that you're focusing on from a demographic standpoint. I always advocate right now to niche down. So as you're considering campaigns, niche down to demographics. Maybe you can even cross promote with some of the incredible outdoor recreation focused brands in your state or destinations from a resort standpoint. And really, like, if let's say you're trying to reach and engage 30-year-old women who have great professional interest and also are health and wellness minded. You want to get more of those people to come into Utah. Who can you cross promote with from a spa, perhaps a couple different companies that do health and wellness around outdoors, perhaps it's yoga, etc. Think about businesses within your state that you can cross promote with to really micro target these different niches of people who are going to be interested in road tripping to your state. And I do think that this is going to be a strong trend going into 2021. Another thing that would be really important is providing a resource of some kind through the tourism office that maybe gives people a heads up on how to plan a road trip, because obviously campgrounds are really difficult to come by. What are some options for them that might tie in regionally based businesses that could serve them on such a trip? Maybe there's a handbook that you could provide or some kind of video content that you could co-create with somebody who really exemplifies the person you're trying to bring in. You want to show this person to your audience because if they see it, they can be it. So that's one thing that I've seen. There's a broad strokes approach to state tourism offices. And I think that that's super important from a top of the funnel, I'm online and I'm starting my search. But then when it really comes down to planning and implementing it, the more you niche, the more successful you'll be. And I'm all about what we call joint venture partnerships with audience growth opportunities with different businesses. And I would think the State Office of Tourism, that would be different businesses, different regional locations, different athletes or influencers. Get creative, that people that really match up with who you're trying to market to. Don't try and be remarkable to everyone. You won't be remarkable to anyone if you do that. You will be remarkable if you focus on a niche. So that's where I would go.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We received another question from Monique Beely. Do you have any stats on regional print magazines?
Stats in the way of their health right now, or I'm not sure specifically what you mean stats wise.
Monique, if you want to clarify, you are welcome to unmute yourself.
Okay, great. Just kind of where are people still? I publish a magazine or own a magazine called Discover Utah Kids. It's quarterly. It's, my target is definitely moms and families getting outdoors, and just looking at, the print versus online kind of dynamic during a time when, people are on their computers more. But I feel like families, having an opportunity to sit down and look at a magazine is different now than it was before, when kids are online school and people are on computers all the time.
So I have a couple things to share on that point. First is, I'm sure you have a digital presence, and it's going to be important to keep that digital presence, a version of your magazine online. But again, I would seasonally look at the content, and I would definitely look at exactly who you're serving from a demographic standpoint. I mean, you just described pretty much who that is, but try and get, niche till it hurts is really my motto. And the reason I say that is, what can you bring from your print publication to more of a digital format that maybe takes them deeper into the content? So you can also really benefit from cross promotion with Utah-based brands that make sense, or regional Utah-based brands that make sense for you. But becoming that resource that they really need to have around maybe a certain type of theme that you're covering. Maybe it's as we just talked about, road trip, or the benefits of health and wellness outdoors, or how to cook outdoors, or what does today's picnic look like, right? There's all kinds of different things you can do. Recreating with your dog, different things that you can bring in cross-promotional partners to help grow your audience and to provide resource-based content to your audience. Another thing that I'll tell you is that's working really well right now is content that goes against the grain. So for example, if you're able to take like a really strong topic that you're known for providing to your audience and really consider that as you're going into 2021, knowing that your readership has gone through a lot of change with COVID just in their day-to-day existence, but maybe put a stake in the ground like 2021 is the year of XYZ, and you as a magazine are taking a leadership role in that. And maybe it goes a little bit against what they used to believe before COVID. And it shows them, oh, I should be rallying around this magazine. I trust them and they're going in this direction. I'm going to see what that's all about. So try and maybe put a little edge to your editorial that maybe is a little bit of a different slant on something that you know your audience believes. And it's a really great time to do this because of COVID and everybody's changing their day to day. But you could do something like that and essentially build more trust, invite people to come in out of curiosity. What are they talking about? I really want to know what that is. And it's not clickbait. It's like you're still offering them great resources. You're just taking a stronger stand on something that you have been serving them with, but it maybe goes a little bit against the grain of what they're used to thinking. So that's kind of a great position for you. And then I also know that print publications are seeing a quarterly, something that is pretty much either seasonally aligned or evergreen content focused as a really great thing to have as that takeaway and something to have, because you're right, people are really tired of being online, but at the same time, they're also looking for creative ways to be online. Maybe there's something fun that you can do to help people who are homeschooling, et cetera. There's resources that you could probably build that your audience would adore you for right now if you came up with creative approaches for them to handle certain things. So, but I have heard print quarterly is still really strong, but then really, really investing in your consumer decision journey online, how they're finding you and what they're finding online, and using cross-promotional partners to grow your audience. I think those are things you could definitely try with your regional publication.
Thank
Great,
you so
thank
much.
you.
You're welcome.
And we are just about out of time. Kristin, thank you so much. And we really appreciate everything that you've been able to share with us today. I just put into the chat again, outdoorteam@utah.gov. If anyone has any questions that they didn't get to, just let us know. I'll be sending this out as well as everything else that Kristin mentioned. So thank you for all of that information. And again, thank you all for being here. Kristin, do you have anything else to kind of wrap up with?
I just want to, say thank you to my incredible team at Verde for helping pull together all this information, but also I am just such an incredible fan and loyalist of all that you're doing in the state of Utah Outdoor Recreation Office. So keep up the great work and know that we're cheering you on. And I love your great state. So thank you for everything.
Thank you. And thank you, Tara and Patrick and Pitt as well. That shout out is thank you.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks.